welcome back, dear friends. It's a joy to speak to you again without a script or any instructions or destructions for that matter in sight. The day has finally arrived. The day when I'm going to put together the first 5 reciprocating chronometer kits. But first, I got an order for a ready-made Nemnet threadwell last night. Urgently required for, I think it's a birthday present or something. So I started it last night, and I do love putting them together because I start off by doing the wooden bit, as the instructions suggest, but then I cheat a little bit because I use some paint on wood stain rather than the beeswax polish. I can't send the wood stain through the post because it's classed as a corrosive or explosive or something or other, whereas the beeswax polish is absolutely fine. So I get that done, and I've got the lovely little circuit. I do love making these up. I don't keep a stock of them made up because, well, it's fun making them, and they take up quite a bit of room when they're ready made, so that's it. And then I buff it with one of my old shirts. And I have, funnily enough, this one, only put together the kit yesterday because I think I mentioned before that I'd run out, or was running out, of Nemnet threadwells. Oh, there's a picture, if you've forgotten what they look like. So I just made up in a record-breaking time 1 week from ordering parts for another 40 to actually getting, well, 20 of them finished, the kits. So I put this together yesterday and then got the order, so took it apart again. How exciting. It's interesting, isn't it? Because however careful you are, standardisation is everything with kits, I have found over the years, because obviously you want to know that everything works and fits together, and that's why I'm pleased. I have got some old kits left over, but I thought I'd put one of the new ones together because I want to check that all of the bits and pieces, the 140 or so bits and pieces, actually fit together. And whilst I was checking, I discovered a couple of things. This bit, which is the pump housing that covers the air pump, it has to fit into this very complicated fitting, 15-15-28, and every time I order these, they're all to British standards because they have to be, I think, to ensure that they're of the right quality for plumbing installations. But you can get so many different variations. Sometimes this body is longer, sometimes these are shorter, thicker, thin. It is a pain. So every time I order another load of them, I have to make sure, and I've now built myself a jig. Here's a jig, a new one. So what I do, I have to stick that in there, push it in, get a pump and make sure that all this lines up properly, just so that overlaps the top of this pipe. All the other times I was building part of one, but I thought, nah, blew it. I'm going to make another jig. So that's that. So that is now glued, hence the fact that for the first time I've created these sticky labels with a picture of this saying it is already glued together in case people try and wrench it apart. But then, this is an end feed, 15mm to 8mm diameter pipe adapter. This is what I thought and have always used, is a piece of the rubber tube that comes through the middle of one of these antique shower hose, which actually coincidentally do make very, very good connections and pipes for steampunk machines. And I've always found over the years that they are all exactly the same width, diameter and everything else, and fit perfectly. But not this time, dear friends, no. Some company somewhere has decided they found a cheaper, slightly thinner by, I think it's about 1/4 millimetre, but what that means is, when you, excuse me while I change hands, you're going to glue that in there. But because it's ever so slightly smaller, I don't know whether you can see any of this really, it pushes right through. In the past, the outer diameter of this rubber pipe was 8mm exactly, so it would just push in to the right depth. And I thought about crushing this a bit or doing that or whatever, but in the end I thought, hang on a minute, do a little picture, a little photo and a little note, hence the fact I've got a new fully colour printed sticker system. It shows you though. That's why I'm so careful every time I put another 20 or 40 together that I check everything works, especially things like the circuit, if resistors are slightly different diameter or something. There's so many differences and changes, and when you've got 140 bits all having to fit together, it's quite a challenge, I can tell you. Anyway, I will get on with this and then get back to you. And here we have it. Complete. Tested. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Let's switch it on. The flickering lamp starts flickering, which is a good sign. Also, when designing fairly complex circuits and things, or electronic systems, it's always very useful. I learnt this when I was producing schemes of work for secondary school electronics projects and other things, that having clues, so that if something doesn't work, you're not just faced with a load of electronic components and you don't know where to start checking to find out and identify the problem. You have clues like this flickering LED. If that works but something else doesn't work, it helps to really narrow it down. But I'm very, very pleased to say, I think in total, which is well over 100 of these now, I think I've had about 4 or 5 people who've contacted me with a problem with the circuit, and I've managed to help them to solve every one, which is lovely. So that's flickering, so the power's getting through, and then you can set your time, and then it counts down, and then fabulous, and you can adjust the volume with the insertion of a handkerchief or similar in the horn. And what I love about it, I was so pleased to get that motor, the little pump, find the small air pumps, actually work with these horns. I was so thrilled. So it's not cheating, it is really a working air horn. So I'll get that packaged up. Oh, just before I do, I meant to say, I thought, I've had several requests, people asking for changing the text on this laser engraved sign. And I thought, yeah, okay, and I did it sort of 1 or 2 people, and I thought, why not offer it as a feature? So on the Etsy shop on my website, you can now ask me or opt for the version where you have your own one that can be customised. And I've done 3 or 4 so far, which people have really been pleased about, which is nice. It's in the post, so let's get on with this. I have gone to the trouble, which I always do, and find it most valuable. Well, for example, this bit shows me I have to lay on all of the different laser cut parts. There's 2 pieces of that somewhere or other, to ensure that, never get them apart when you want to ensure that I put everything in the kit successfully and don't miss out anything. So all these different pages, I've worked out how I'm going to package everything together. So the next thing is to actually start packaging everything together. And I'm going to start with this. This is the polish, not the polish, the polish lens and level. There's a lovely little pot of polish. That's the beeswax stain polish, and it's a lovely little pot with a lovely little laser cut label on top. There's a beautiful LED 28mm, I think, lens, which I've kept in the little plastic bags they came in, which is very handy because if you've watched the instructions, you'll know that if you do touch it with a finger, even very, very lightly, and then put some super glue near it, the fumes from the super glue can turn the minute traces of skin oil white, so you can pick up the latent fingerprints. I don't think that was the original design criteria for super glue. Anywho, then we've got the terribly fantastic red spirit level, shiny red and bubbly. So I'm going to put that in. They're all going to go into one of these bubble wrap bags. I've worked out, you put the polish in first, then you put the lens in beside it, then you put the spirit level, and then you fold it over and seal it. And there we are, just proof in the pudding. Right, what shall I do next? This is the lovely thing about putting these kits together, that you can choose. Now then. I can't put these together yet because I've got to drill this bit out. Or to the uninitiated, this bit. Because if you remember, I've got to drill all these out precisely to 4mm for some of them, 3mm for another, 3.3mm for others that need tapping, then drill some down using the lovely new pastel coloured jig. This lovely pastel coloured jig with a chicken on one end. just coincidentally, just coincidence that I happen to find all these offcuts and they're all nicely painted pastel colours. Beautiful. And the chicken knob. So that's good. I've just found this, which I'm very pleased to have found because I completely forgot about it. I'm getting carried away. This is my instruction sheet of things, operations I need to do to some of the parts first. And there's the detailed thing of the thing showing me where I have to tap and sizes and shapes and things. I'm very pleased to have remembered that. The first thing I'm going to do is to drill these out to 4.1mm. I have tried printing things, and you can 3D printing things very, very accurately, and have found that just due to ever such slight fluctuations in temperature, whatever else, when you're working to tolerances of say 0.1 plus or minus 0.1mm, well, plus 0.1mm, because you want the spindle to turn freely on the stainless steel rivet, it is far better to print them with a hole that's slightly smaller than required, and then to drill them out to 4.1. And as with the laser in cuttings and things, having it print a hole lines it up perfectly. You don't have to have a jig or anything, you just put that on. And I leave these rafts on, and so I talk about it in the instructions, because it just gives you something a bit bigger to grip them on, because for fiddly little bits like that, if you're trying to hold this up and drilling it, it's going to wobble all over the place. Might not stand vertically and snatch it away and hurt your poor little fingers, but having the base helps. Now what? Countersink from the back. There's the front, and I've got to countersink these. Oh, and I've already done these ones, drill out the brass counterweights, because I found the hole that came in them, because they're for fishing, was just too small for the chain, so I had to drill them all out to 2mm. What a joy, but they're done. So the next thing is the pawl. There's the AM/PM ratchet pawl, and I need to tap that hole in the top to M3. There's the M3 tap, and I've got it in a tap wrench. I'm not going to use the electric drill because I want this is really fine stuff. So what I'm going to do is to dip it in a little bit of out of focus isopropyl alcohol, just to keep it cool and the flutes clear. Next thing is to tap out the hole in this for the gnarled brass thing that covers the back of the clock movement. And for that, dear friends, I'm going to try and get this into focus. Oh, look at that. I'm using one of these very quick drill taps. So it drills a hole and has the tap. That's because the danger when you tap holes in something like plastic, or in fact in any material, is if you don't take lots of care, you can go all wonky. So I could have that and not notice, and I'd put the tap through like that and it'll be ruined. Whereas because I've already got a hole in this acrylic, I'm counting on this part lining up with the hole, which should be roughly the right size, and then that just drawing that through. It's much quicker. I will demonstrate, but as always, I'm going to dip it in a bit of isopropyl alcohol for cooling and lubrication, then put that in the end of the hole. Now this could all go horribly wrong because I'm looking at too many things. I'm going to check, yeah, that looks like it's all perpendicular. And now with these drill taps, I'm not going to talk over it because it's going to be really loud. Because they've got the spiral flute around the tap between them, you can go much quicker and only have to go through, you don't have to keep reversing it. Very handy. Right, brain into action. I've got to be so careful because there are so many holes of different sizes. So the rivets are actually 3.9mm. I want them to push tightly into 4mm holes, and I drilled out these spindles and things that have to spin smoothly on these to 4.1mm. You can see how close the tolerances are. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Look at that. So it's stiff, which is exactly what we want. Now I'm going to tap all these, there's 8 I think, or something like that, 8 holes to be tapped to M3. Well, that took quite a long time, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now tap to M3. I'm definitely going to get one of these tap drills. That has worked really well. Lining that up, and then I've just got that, so look at that. So I now know that should theoretically be in perfectly right place. This is now clamped down. I'm very pleased to say that now lines up perfectly. I'm going to go past it so that I've got room for the end of the tap to go past to make sure I can tap enough of it. That's what I'm talking about. Ta-da! It's that simple. I'm very pleased with that jig. It goes that way around. So I managed to drill all the tapping holes, even the one that's at an angle, and the 2 ones in the feet, so quickly. Like I say, once you've set the jig up, it makes life so much more easy. Well, I'm glad the camera's off for that, because having got to do and drilled nearly all of these out, I picked the last one up and they were all off centre. This piece of wood flipped over. They smashed down onto the bottom of the bandsaw, and sure enough, look, what a joy. One of them caught it and snapped, and that was finished practically. So I'm going to have to cut out a new one of them. You couldn't make it up. What an idiot for not noticing it was all unbalanced. Anyway, I've now got to make another one of these, and they take ages to cut out on the laser because it's 10mm thick acrylic. I don't even know whether I've got enough. What a pain. I mean, I could glue it back together, but it's just not cricket, is it really? Right, back to the drawing board. Luckily, if that's the word, well, it is the word actually, I found one piece of 10mm acrylic left. So that's fantastic for the prototype, so I hopefully have just got enough. Actually, perhaps this can be my island of tranquility where I can calm down, forget the troubles of the world, and not look into an incredibly bright 60 watts laser. I'll let my camera lens take the strain. See how slow it is, it's 1.5mm a second at 40%, but, as I've said many times before, I've been using that recommended setting, 40%, for, I think I've got the laser cutter 5 years ago. It must be perhaps even more than that. And it is still working, and the lenses and the mirror are still functioning. Isn't that pretty? Hasten to add, as always, I'm not looking directly at it. I'm looking at the camera, but that is pretty. With all the lens flare and things. Look, it could be an angel. Oh, I feel much better for that. Thought I'd better store the brass filament away, or as I discovered actually when someone asked a question, antique gold, because it sounds so much more expensive. But it's brass by any other name. Keeping it in a vacuum, this PLA Plus ESON stuff I always use because I'm very pleased with the quality. It tends to absorb moisture, I think, and stuff if you leave it out. So the best thing is to store it in some sort of one of these, well, some sort of vacuum things. And as always with hobbies, the extras range a huge amount in cost. You can get solid plastic cases with all sorts of anti-air stuff and heaven only knows what. Or, I got these on Amazon I think, a set of 12 of these resealable plastic bags with a little air vacuum pump. Really nice. A couple of sachets of the old silicon whatever, do not eat. Silica desiccant. Bob's your uncle. It's sometime later, but I've got them all done. And it's been really interesting and enjoyable, if you like, tapping and drilling holes and things and not smashing up pieces of plastic. But you can see, how can I position this? I've tapped them so they go past to make sure, because when you get a tap it has a slightly fluted end. So you need to go past it. And there's that one. And I am absolutely thrilled. You know, when, oh look, there's another one. You know, when you get a tool that brings joy into your life and makes everything just that little bit easier. This is one of my other favourites, which I regularly mention, the deburring tool for things like copper pipes and stuff. It turns some horrible job where you have to file out the end of something or get a triangular bit of metal and ram it in badly, to an absolute joy where you just do that. Oh, how lovely. And I feel the same about these drill taps. And I know they sell long ones because from my reading on the Levatoire every morning, I ordered nuts and bolts from these people. No affiliation, as always. I wish someone would affiliate something. How can you not find this interesting to look at? I mean, even taps. I'm just trying to find the examples that actually makes the point I was trying to make. But there's pages of different sorts. Yeah, I think, or something like that. Anyway, I know you can get them because I found them the other morning. Which brought joy to the start of my day. Oh, here we are, look. I can't even see whether that's VersaDrive turbo tip impact drill bits. So something like that. Anyway, I don't think I need a turbo tip, but I'm going to order one of each after that long drawn out statement. I'm going to go and take the dog for a walk. And there's the photograph. And here's the real thing. It's a really good way to make sure that you've got all the parts together required for each part of the kit. Thank you very much for watching. If you still are, well done. Hope to see you next time. If you like this sort of thing, please click on subscribe and the bell and stuff. Thanks again.